All right, talk to us about the market's performance. I mean, it's sideways trading in many ways, a few margins down, a few points up. What do you make of the percentage close today at over 4,085?
Well, I think it's a positive move for the market. Remember, we've gained about 85 points or so this week. Absolutely good news. Looking back, we had been in a lull around the 4,000 mark. So it's positive news for the market as a whole.
All right, let's talk about the stocks to watch today. Rea Vipingo, the sisal producer, they've released their half-year earnings. Pre-tax profits up to 227 million shillings. Revenues up 974 million Kenyan shillings. How do they compare to some of the other agro producers? Sasini also had sterling results recently.
Yes, the exporters really are benefiting quite a lot from the weaker shilling because they're able to manage their costs in Kenyan shillings and get higher revenues from strong currencies, the US dollar especially. So Rea Vipingo, no exception to that. They produced some very good results. But looking at it on a wholesome level, the market, I'm not too sure Rea Vipingo would be a good buy. Comparing with the rest of the agriculturals. It trades at a PE of about 12 to 13 or so. Compare that with Sasini at about 2 to 3, with Kakuzi at about 3 to 4. So on the whole, it would appear as if Rea Vipingo would be a pricey pick. But very strong earnings, very good growth on that counter. Remember, they're the largest sisal producer in Africa, so Rea Vipingo, fantastic news, fantastic results.
All right, so things that count against it, a high PE, a bit of an expensive stock as you're suggesting, but also in terms of operating profits going forward, there's a drought that everybody's worried about in East Africa. There are rising fuel costs. What do you expect going forward? Because these are half-year results.
Yes, these are the half-year results. The drought is really a pressing issue for all the agricultural stocks right now. In Kenya so far, for the 5 months or so, we've not really had good rainfall, so it doesn't augur too well. Fortunately for Rea Vipingo, they're also in Tanzania, so that may at least kind of cushion the drought effect, though it's something to worry about for all investors out there as far as the agricultural picks are concerned.
Kenyan Airways, they've announced that they're boosting their fleet, expanding on their trade routes to try to be more competitive in a market that's starting to feature more prominently low-cost carriers. Are they going to make it?
I think they will. I think they will. Looking at the low-cost carriers, they don't generally fly as far out across the continent as Kenya Airways does. So that's a big plus for Kenya Airways. The other low-cost competitors do the small city-to-city, Nairobi to maybe Dar es Salaam or that kind of a thing. And Kenya Airways is able to get its customers across the continent. So Kenya Airways, that's a fantastic news that one of the expected jets is coming in the next fortnight or so, and that will really help Kenya Airways to bring down its operating costs. But looking at Kenya Airways as a whole, the real stone in the shoe for Kenya Airways has for a long time been its central hub of operations, the JKIA, which really is in dire need of an expansion and an upgrade, at least something to what you have at Oliver Tambo. Without that, Kenya Airways will really continue to have a lot of delayed flights and that kind of a thing. So Kenya Airways, the real stone in the shoe is the central hub of operation.
All right, so refurb the airport there. IPO news, Consolidated Bank targeting an initial public offering. Now, as you talk us through the attractiveness of this proposition, let's talk about the history of this particular institution. It's been in existence over 22 years, but it's walked a very rocky path, and they need to convince investors that their road to profitability is sustainable and that the restructuring through privatization is going to work.
Yes, very long history and a rough one too. So Consolidated Bank, looking at this year's results, very positive, huge growth in income and the expenses are somewhat muted. So it looks pretty good as far as the results are concerned. But those concerns you've mentioned are there really as a whole. Looking at it more keenly, they have about 13 branches. Really, you cannot compare that with Equity Bank or the other big banks around. So the investor sell is going to be a hard one for Consolidated Bank. And allow me to take you back to 2 years or so ago when we had a lot of expectations on the Kenyan banking scene in terms of mergers and acquisitions, as had been the case in Nigeria. Unfortunately, in Kenya, that did not really pick up because one of the big issues on the fore was that all the banks basically have operations in Nairobi, Mombasa, and Kisumu. So it really is an issue of, as far as mergers are concerned, it really would be an issue of what would be the costs to set up a new branch versus acquire a company that has, say, 3 or 4 or 10 branches, which we could easily be replicated by the bigger players.
Okay, 2 new listings for the month of June. One of them is Uchumi. I just want to comment there, and another one, TransCentury. And as a result, their share register has now closed, but theirs is only going to be an introductory listing just to get the pricing right.
Yes, Uchumi really is what the retailers are all about. All the retail investors are really looking out to Uchumi because for a long time their investment has been locked in with the company being suspended on the trade. So on the new Nairobi Stock Exchange. So Uchumi really is what will bring back the retail market, and we look forward to that. On TransCentury, they have a fantastic portfolio out there, operating in about 7 countries across Eastern and Central Africa. So it would be very, very interesting to see what the portfolio underlies on TransCentury is, and we will hope to see some value unlocked because over the counter it trades at about 45 to 50 shillings. And we think, I think once it's listed, it would shoot up to about 65, 70 shillings. And but the key thing for TransCentury would be to get the number of shares right. I expect perhaps there might be a share split before the final introduction is done.